I grew up in Qatar, studied in an Indian school, and I'm a Pakistani.
If you send a tweet to someone renowned, you probably won't hear anything back. But you happen to be one of those people who got the reply from Guy Kawasaki.
A book called The Art of Social Media by Guy Kawasaki. I made a product out of it and I love using it. To that tweet, he replied that, does that product add picture and does it delete the previous tweet? And I was like, why would you delete a previous tweet? Soil Champ is a company that I often say it came by an accident. It was never meant to be a company. We didn't buy a domain. We didn't think of any logo. It was just our internal testing project. I just named the URL Social Champ. When you face failures, you got to share with people you trust and so that they can jump in and help you. My visa got rejected. She runs Catalyst Labs. She wrote an email. She wrote so many good things about me. And this time my interview is very different. My mentors, when I meet up, they say, Samir, you could be a millionaire right now. Just to clarify, I asked the co-founder of Canva saying that if you were at my place, what would you do? And the answer was that I would run the company. It was $1 million company. Now it's $1 billion company. Sometimes people want to raise funding so that they could be in the news, they could be in Forbes. I think if you don't do your part, you will be replaced with somebody who would do it.
Thank you, Samir, for joining us today. Social champ. Often people think that if you send a tweet to someone renowned, you probably won't hear anything back. But you happen to be one of those people who got the reply from Guy Kawasaki. And being a serial entrepreneur and running a successful startup in Pakistan's ecosystem, I would love for you to introduce yourself to the audience and take us through from the very beginning that where you started, what inspired you, and what is the mission that you're on. And thank you for joining us today.
No worries. Thank you so much for inviting. And Soil Champ is a company that I often say it came by an accident. It was never meant to be a company. I was researching on my third startup, how we could market this better. And in that search, we figured a strategy to repeat your tweets multiple times in a book called The Art of Social Media by Guy Kawasaki and Peck Fitzpatrick. So I read the idea, I read the strategy. I was like, this is a great strategy. Let's just make that during the weekend. So during my weekend, I asked my co-founder, you do the back end, I'll do the front end. You need to do it and test it for a third startup. My birthday was about to come in 2 weeks. So my co-founder Zohaib said, I'm going to gift you the backend on birthday. And this is like his excuse of saying, I won't start it now, I'll start it 2 weeks later, right? So that's how it happened. He did the backend, I did the front end, and then I pulled one more co-founder to make it more mature. We didn't buy a domain. We didn't think of any logo. It was just our internal testing project. I just named the URL socialchamp.testherokuapp.com, which is like instant name. I then picked it up and started using it. So the strategy was to repeat your tweets multiple times. So usually if somebody's sleeping late, they can see a tweet. I repeat the tweet again at 7 a.m. so somebody's early riser, they can see the tweet. So, repeat a tweet like 4 or 5 times. This is like news, breaking news, they keep on repeating it. So if your content is so good, you think to repeat it. And that actually helped us reach some audience, more clicks, more reach. So that was something that was working out. And one day I read a tweet by Guy Kawasaki on Twitter. He tweeted, who has read my book? And I repeated to the tweet, replied to it saying that I read your book, The Art of Star 2.0. It's amazing. And I also read your book, The Art of Social Media, and I made a product out of it and I love using it. So to that tweet, he replied that, does that product add picture? Can you add picture to it? And does it delete the previous tweet? And I was like, why would you delete a previous tweet? And I asked him, why do you want to do that? And he didn't reply to me. But that first reply, it got me up at 3 a.m. till 4 or 5 a.m. I was like, oh, he replied, so many million followers. Yeah. But when I asked the question, he didn't reply. And I thought for 24 hours, why would he delete the previous tweet? And I thought, oh, that makes sense. Because if I come to your profile and I see a tweet repeated 4 times, new post, I'll say you're spamming, right? So he actually deletes the previous tweet and posts again, right? So that it keeps on adding value to the users. So I thought, oh, that makes sense. I did that feature. I told my co-founder to do it and I tweeted him back again, no reply. We had 5 hours, 10 hours, 24 hours passed. And I know that usually influencers are usually people who do not reply within 24 hours. The message is already lost because, they had received tons of messages. So I took a screenshot of that tweet, found his email, emailed him back that he replied to me, and that product is now also, I can also delete previous tweet. To which he replied to the email saying that, is it live? I said, yeah, it is live. You can test it. So he tested it, and from that day, he became a really, really good friend and mentor to this date. Like yesterday, I sent him the pictures of my beautiful daughter, and he said, can he be the grandpa of her? So, it's been a good journey. And since that day, he started, advising that, add Facebook to it. And at that time, Pakistan had a kind of like we are a company operating from Pakistan, and Social Champ is basically a social media management platform where we now support 11 platforms, and we have sensitive APIs that are not available publicly. So for example, Google Plus API, we are the first Pakistani company to have that API. I think we are the only one who have the API. And Guy actually told the Google Plus team that he's assuring that we are good people, and they sent an NDA especially made from Pakistan. So we signed that NDA and got that API. So, it's a very good relation that he helped us building relations, introducing us to the CEO and COO of Canva. He made me friends with Canva's co-founder, and they, advised me on certain issues when I face. So it's been so far so good journey. I think the one thing that he did was during my time, he said, I asked him about a conference happening in USA, San Diego. And he said, this is a great conference. And I asked, should I come? He was a speaker over there. So I said, yeah. He connected me to the CEO of that conference saying that I want to sponsor this guy. And so it was me inviting me to US, and I was like thinking, okay, I'm going to US. How would I do it? So I applied to get the visa and went to the interview with like a US embassy. I was single, I was Khan, never traveled out of Pakistan. When I got matured, like I grew up in Qatar, but never went out, my visa got rejected. And I shared the news with Jahan and my mentor in US that, look, I got rejected. I can't go to US now. And Jahan was actually, she runs Catalyst Labs. At that time, she ran the Nest IO incubator. And she was at the Dubai airport. She emailed to the US embassy. The Nest IO was partners with the US consulate. She wrote an email that I watched for this guy. She wrote so many good things about me that I also didn't knew. I also taught one course at Karachi University. So she also told that he also teaches in Karachi University and blah, blah. And she watches that I'll come back. And then I got a VIP call from the US embassy saying that you need to submit your passport and apply again. And this time my interview is very different. I went. She asked why you're going. I said, I'm going to meet Guy Kawasaki. She said, no, you got to say that you're going for business. I said, okay, I'm going for business. Approved. Mm-hmm. So that's how my visa got, accepted. And I often share to people that, when you face failures, like the visa rejection was kind of like a backstep. You got to share with people you trust and mentor so that you actually fail so that they can jump in and help you. 100%. The embarrassment of not sharing that I failed or I failed the interview would have not gotten me that opportunity to travel back again. Like if I hit somewhere and said, okay, everything is okay, I can never fail, I would have never gotten the chance to actually go and succeed and meet Guy Kawasaki. And then when I went to US, he made me stand in the audience that I use this product. My product was in the PPT of his presentation. I met his family, his wife, kids. He met me multiple times over there, introduced me. So that was the starting point of this accidental company. The past 3 startups did not work out. All those, the mistakes we did is a separate talk, is a different, messages over there.
No, that's wonderful. I think you reminded me of what Steve Jobs talked about once I was watching that he was about 11, 12 years of age and he picked up a phone. And he got talking to Bill from HP, right? And he said that I'm looking for these components. And he said, yeah, come on over to the office. And he just had them ready. So oftentimes what we don't realize is that help is only a ask away, right?
Yeah.
And then even when we are asking for whatever reason, we do not have that resilience or persistence and try again or knock again element. Les Brown, one of his talks, very popular one, he talks about that 7 days in a row, he went and asked the same question, that could he be a coffee boy, because he wanted to be a disc jockey in this radio, in the radio station. So, asking, and having the clarity as to what you want, then universe all of a sudden make things happen, right? Yeah. So despite the fact that you have setbacks, you just attain them. So can you touch a little bit on, you said that you grew up in Qatar. So what was your early, journey was like, your family dynamics, siblings, what made you the person that you became?
Yeah. And just to add on previous point, learn to ask for help is something that I always preach. That learn to ask for help. Sometimes we humans get lost so much that we even not even asking our mentors, we even forget to ask the one who created us. We think that he understands some kind of Arabic or Latin something, and that is something we don't know, and that's why our prayers or wishes could not be fulfilled. I often say that your prayer, your wish, your desires should be so weird, so different that angels would wonder what is he even asking, and it's not the job of the angels to fulfill that, right? It is the divine who will actually listen and fulfill that. So if you have that that belief and faith that whatever you're asking, it will be fulfilled one day, then it's very powerful. And you can always ask all the time. And I even asked so many times, like in Slush we met, right? In that Slush I met my Jawad Farid, my mentor, and I said, I have a few more questions, I'm stuck somewhere, can we have a meeting? He said, yeah, let's come to IBA and I'll help you out. So to this date, I keep asking people out. Right now, your second question is very interesting. My early life, I think I was trying to become a doctor because I'm in my 8th grade. So I grew up in Qatar, studied in an Indian school, and I'm a Pakistani. So usually this line helps me to be accepted in a diverse group. They're like, oh wow, he's one of us. It could be Arab, it could be Indians, it could be Pakistani, right? So I studied in my schooling was in Indian school. In 7th or 8th grade, I had to move to Pakistani school in Qatar because my Urdu was really not good, and I needed to be preparing myself for the college and university. So I came to Pakistani school, and that's when I grew up. I think like I saw everything happening, and in 8th grade there was a concept. 9th grade you had to select computer science or medical, right? And the concept is if you get good grades, you will be given the opportunity to become a doctor, to select pre-medical. But if you suck, then you gotta be choosing computer science. Somehow I got good grades. So then my teachers started calling me Dr. Samir, Dr. Samir. I was like, okay. So I already loved computers because of gaming and all that. I was like, okay, I'm gonna continue computers as a hobby, and I'm going to become a doctor. So I think in 9th grade, I chose to become a doctor. I was like, okay, I imagined myself, okay, I'm going to be a doctor. And I got this, in 9th grade, the federal board, I got these 3 big fat books of bio, like, botany and all those 3 books. Started memorizing. I'm not good at memorizing, but still I did it. And I was on vacations in Pakistan. We used to visit Karachi almost every year, and we were on vacations in Karachi, and something bad happened in Qatar, and we had to stay in Pakistan. And my dad had some medical conditions. We had to pull him back over here, so it was very sudden. Like in Qatar, you could imagine our family to be, alhamdulillah, getting a lot of stuff. Like whatever we wished, my dad bought it for us. Like bicycle, we got 4 bicycles because of my brothers and sisters. So everything was just, we are like princes.
In abundance.
Yeah, in abundance. Yeah, we were kings. Like we thought we were kings, right? We could just get anything. 3-4 cars. Dad he opened his own company over there. He was not, he worked in a palace, then he opened his own company. Palace was his clients, right? And then suddenly, when we moved to Karachi, Pakistan, it was a total shift. Debts to be paid. We somehow did had a property here, but somehow, in Pakistan, some people, there's a play over here, they fool you out and they take your business away. So that's what happened. My dad was a very plain, simple guy. Lived abroad like 40 years in Qatar. He didn't know about this world. So you lost that, So we were in debt. I was struggling. Started giving, tuitions and all that. So I started giving tuitions in my 8th grade, trying to do that. When I got in university, I was looking for computer science, but my grades were kind of like when I came to Pakistan, no school was picking me up because in 2 months, 9th examination were going to happen. And schools are like, if I pick you, if they take me as a student, I would not get good grades and the name of the school would be down. Right? Somehow someone in family knew a school owner. They put me in school. In 2 months, the exam was going to happen, the 9th exams, and I chose pre-medical because I was doing pre-medical. But the peers over here told me that the secret of getting good grades is to choose computer science.
I see.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to choose that anyway. So I chose that, and it went really good. Got good grades. Then college happened, university happened. got into Karachi University, alhamdulillah, evening batch. 2-3 semester fees were paid by someone else, I don't know who. A lot of people paid for my fees just because I couldn't support that. It was a tough time, but it was struggling. But in university, third year, in fourth year, actually, we decided to run a company, to do freelancing and open a service company. And I think that is when, in university's third year, we started winning a lot of competitions. So the first competition we won, we created an app called Namaz Reminder. We thought that the first app we're going to create should be something that is for the Islamic. It helps people. So we created that. Didn't knew that we're going to choose that and go to a competition. So competition was coming up. We said, okay, and that competition was also very wonderful. We took participation. We participated in speed programming, and we sucked at it. We didn't get good. We saw what the world was because we were very good in university, Karachi University. But when we competed in Fast University, we saw a different world. We were like, dude, this is like a different world outside. We thought we are heroes in Karachi University, and we said we're going to prepare now for the next year. We're going to prepare and do everything. We prepared the best. And at that time there was a competition called Mobile Exhibition. Okay. By I think it was NAD or Fast, I think. So we didn't have the money to participate in that one. So the guy told me that if you pay half, we'll get you this and speed programming. We said we can't even pay half, to be honest. He said, okay, I'm going to give it for free. Just participate in it. Maybe they're running out of participants. So we got speed programming, we got that. And somehow we took that Namaz Reminder app, presented that app in this competition. It won second prize, 15,000 rupees. It was a big thing for us. We took that money, like, okay, we're going to buy now an Android phone to test and create products, apps for other people. And that was the point we thought that we are good at this thing. Let's pursue this for life. So we started creating apps, cross-platform apps. And university, we started 11 people. We started freelancing. And then we got into this service company. We made that company like Ozil Systems. That is a company that actually, so when I tell that I failed in 3 startups, people think, oh, he might be very rich because, you can fail. He might have money. He will be running kitchen and, he can keep off thinking ideas, right? And it's not that. We made that company, the service company, in our final year. We got freelance projects, and we also did work for a company for 1.5 years because the sir who was mentoring us told us, Sir Zia Khan, he wanted all of his students like us, our friends, to be his team members, the founding members of PanaCloud. So we did that job for 1.5 years, and then we got a big offer from Lahore. It was paying us 3x of our money. I'm like, dude, this is good money, 3x. And the best part would be he wants all of our friends to be in Lahore. I negotiated that part. But I was like thinking, if I go to Lahore and if they pay me so much, they're going to take a lot of my time. And there are things that we take for granted over here, like getting our dress done, getting our lunch, breakfast, moms do it. I was like, we're going to do that stuff also. And then also work for them and do our startup. It's very tough. So we kind of like had a project in freelance, like we're going to stop working, say no to that offer and start full-time freelance projects. So we did that. Alhamdulillah, we crossed 10,000, dollars MRR every month. And that is the company that helped us bootstrap. So we figured in the starting that we need, my home needs 40,000 rupees at that time to run, to pay the bills, to keep the kitchen running. So I said to my three more co-founders that this is 40K. We need to provide each of us this, and then we'll continue doing it. If this doesn't happen, we're going to stop doing this. We're going to return to our jobs. So we started with the project, and by which we could actually give this money to our house. And gradually, the projects keep coming. We kept improving. And that's how we experiment on products like, that failed. We continue doing it. And then Social Champ happened. We got funding in 2019. And once we got 100K funding from Oman Technology Fund, that's when we thought that this is now the right time to pause or stop the freelance work because it takes a lot of focus. And again, investors are giving money to work on this product, not on my service company. So I need to be faithful to them also. So I said, we're going to say goodbye to our clients. We gave them 2 months to search some other company. We bid them farewell. And they were also startup guys. And they understood, what startups mean. They agreed to it. They're still good friends. And that's how we started working full time on Social Champ.
Wow. And how was that journey raising 100,000 from Oman Technology Fund.
Yeah.
How did you pull that one off?
Yeah, that's a very interesting. That's also tough, to be honest. At that time, 2019, Pakistan was getting very less opportunities to get
Attention
funded.
as well,
Yeah,
yeah.
and there's a lot of risk factor. Luckily, the conference was happening. So the Nest.io under Jahan's leadership, they did conferences over here, right? And she did a conference called 0 to 1 Disrupt at that time. So I met, and she invited startups. I had one-on-ones with the investor. Investor became good friends. We spoke to them. Jahan introduced me. He's Samir. He does a great job. She gave plus points about me, and he knew me. And we started talking about investments and how much we need. At that time, my monthly recurring revenue was like $1,000, $2,000. That's it. So we started talking, and he paused. He disappeared. And I think 1 year later, he just messaged me saying, are you still looking for funding? I said, yes. He said, okay, I'm going to send you documents. Sign it up. You're getting funded. In a single message, I was like, what? He sent me an email, got me on call. I signed it. I look at the terms. I was like, this is standard terms, his document. I'm like, perfect. I signed it. In 3 to 4 days, the money was wired in my account, right? I was like, wow, what is this? And he said, is your passport ready? You need to be in Oman. There's a work there. You need to attend this entire, the program they have. So my passport was kind of ready, I think. My co-founder wasn't ready. I think my passport was also not ready. So we went to the passport office, did that stuff. And that's how fast it happened. And my second funding also was kind of like similar. So I met again in 0 to 1 Disrupt investors. And they wanted to invest in me. They disappeared. I didn't take follow-ups. And in the same conference, I met them again. And they tell Samir, what's happening? I said, I got funding from OTF. They said, what? We are sitting here. How could you get funding from others? Like, you never told me. And then, okay, come to our office. Let's discuss. And we discussed. We kept on talking for like 8, 9, 10 months, all that stuff. And then COVID happened. I was like, dude, if this not work out, we got to go back to services. We took a risk of 100K that will last for 1.5 years. It's almost done. We need to have funding. Alhamdulillah, the investors kept up to their word, and they gave the funding to 20K. And that's how we started working onto it. And third one, Techstars Toronto, was also by accident, by a tweet. I tweeted to one guy. I always reach out to people. I was good because the first step I said, learn to ask for help. And I figured that people who are really at a certain stage in their life, they love helping other people because they're looking for a purpose. And I often do this. I often go to LinkedIn and tell, hey, can we go on call? I need to understand this. And I often get on call with so many people. So I messaged somebody in Techstars. I didn't know he was in Techstars. He was, for investment purpose. I messaged him, can we talk on call? We had a Zoom meeting. Somehow his family was from Karachi, and I was like, wow. And that guy listened to my pitch, referred me to 2 people in Techstars, 2 different programs, Toronto and Anywhere. And the Techstars Toronto liked my idea. Sunil Sharma, he said, this is great. We need a company that can beat Hootsuite in the home grounds. And that's how I was, I got into Techstars Toronto. Yeah,
that's phenomenal. So how much have you raised so far to date for Social Champ?
Yeah, so far we have raised 425. We also got an opportunity of 100K from Techstars Toronto, but it had interest, and we don't like interest, so we didn't take 100K, but still gave 6%. So we have raised around 345 kind of. Yeah.
So 345K.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you are generating revenue. And so what is the traction like for Social Champ?
Yeah, so for us, we have published around 81 million posts across social media.
Wow.
So, every day around 20, 30, 40,000 posts are being published on social media. The users are using the product, right? Our customer base around 3,000, 4,000, that includes free and paid ones. So I'm just putting free into it so that nobody does reverse engineering. But yeah, and mashallah, we are growing month on month. We were cash flow positive since 7 months.
Wow.
But we started reinvesting, making the team bigger. Like now we have 35 full-time team members. Some are spread across the world on Canada, Lebanon, Turkey, right? We are mashallah growing, and our competition is really the bigger companies in the northern markets. And we are proud to say everything is built in-house, dev, marketing, everything is in-house. The HQ is in Pakistan, Karachi, but we are a Delaware US company for the sake of registration and getting investment easy. That's the path we took. But we keep adding stuff. We keep working closely with the networks. Like for example, TikTok is about to launch their app center. We are working closely with their team to have Social Champ already as a pre-launch product into their app center. So that's something we're working. We often work closely. We work closely with LinkedIn. We work closely with Pinterest to get that API. So it's a great journey. Great people are helping us. I cannot say it's just one-man show. To be honest, it's just people helping us along the way and paving path for us. Yeah.
I think what I love from your story is, first, there is a strong commitment to bootstrapping, and always ready that no matter what happens, we have some way to generate revenue, which I think is often absent when people try to chase this, like glam of venture building.
Yeah.
So that's so powerful, what I really like. And another thing is that in the right proportion, right? So when you're raising funds and your site is on cash positivity as opposed to just this, like rapid expansion. We believe, at UPitch Live, we often discuss this, right? Is that enough of chasing unicorns? Let's talk about building phoenixes, right? And then these phoenixes who can rise from the ashes, because venture building, as a matter of fact, anything that we do is of cyclical nature.
Yeah.
And if something is going up, it's going to have to come down. But how do you set yourself or position yourself in a way that you just go down and you just keep going in those cycles? And that's the true sort of essence I'm getting from your story, So it is so powerful. How did you come about building that team that you mentioned? And that's one question. The second thought, before I forget, another thing in the startup ecosystem that I often discuss, and I would love your thoughts on it, is that people want the complete solution from the catalysts or people who are supporting the ecosystem, And what I mean by that is that instead of focusing on the positive that one incubator, or if it's an accelerator, or if it's just like a grant or a VC or angel, instead of expecting 100% from one, you can actually be very strategic about your approach and focus on the strengths and what you are getting from them, and then build up, because the business is yours in the end of the day. It's not their job to build it, right? So how did you build that team and that ecosystem that actually flourished you guys to get you to where you are? And it's a phenomenal story. This day and age, you are cash positive. So how do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that how we could find solutions is that we always look for opportunities, right? We live in Karachi, in Pakistan. I came with a bad start over here. The only question was about how to survive, right? And then if there's a problem, you cannot complain there's a problem, that's why I can't survive. You got to survive what you got to do, right? If there's no water in this glass, you can't say, oh, there's no water, I'm going to die. You're going to search for water, right? At that time with startup journey, there was no funding. So there's no funding. What are we going to do? Are we going to die? No. We got to bootstrap. How are we going to bootstrap? Do services. Is our vision to a bigger company like NetSol or 10 Pearls? No, we don't want a 10,000, 50,000 company. We want a small, powerful company that the product can scale, and we don't have to scale our team because of the product scaling. So that was the vision from the very start, right? But to get money, we need to bootstrap. To bootstrap, we need to give services. How can we give services? Because we are good in technology. We can make code. We can do state of the art. We can create projects for other people. Let's charge and make money, right? Just make a salary that's not phenomenal, that the CEOs talk about. Just take money enough that your house can run. And we did that for 10 years. And we are sometimes often questioning that dude. That guy, he has a job. He's a great salary. He's 3x more than us, although he doesn't have fame because we are famous in the ecosystem. But he has more salary. He's married on the correct time. And he goes home at 5. He's living a wonderful life. And we are stuck here. Did we make the right choice? But that's the personality. That's the life we chose. So I think finding problem, then we always look for solutions. So in our starting days of a Social Champ, we need the payment system, right? And that was a challenge, that in order for a customer in the US or Canada, Australia to pay us, how would he pay us? There was no PayPal in Pakistan. There's no PayPal still in Pakistan. And then how will you do it? So in Stripe at that time, Stripe was the company that you could integrate and they would charge the money, but it wasn't supported in Pakistan. Now there's no option taking money. So what are we going to do? We're going to kill Social Champ? No. So what he did, we bought a US number, we faked an account on Stripe, and we created a fake company on Stripe and started still getting the money.
Amazing.
We were also a US company. So we want the US company. If the money was always coming in that account, I was like, let it happen over there. We'll pull it when we want to. And then Stripe opened for Pakistan. They selected us and they made us a Delaware C Corp company as an experimentation for Pakistan, and it was successful. And then they opened for Pakistan. So that was the approach of, when you find problem. I often see, in my system, in my society, in my relatives also, like the mom is telling to the husband, look, this kid is doing this, and she's complaining, like, dude, pick the kid and put it here. Why are you complaining to the husband, right? So I think that was approached from the very first. If there's a problem, don't whine about it, don't cry about it, do something to fix it, or then just stop the idea, right? We always did something to fix. The team that I have in Social Champ, that's phenomenal team. I can bet each person in the company can get 2x, 3x of if they go outside, if they're selected to work remotely to any US company. Our you could say the vision of the company is different, but our secret recipe of building good team is about transparency and trust. I tell my team, look, if you want to go at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. with somebody, you want to go have fun, entertainment, everything, just tell the truth that you want to go. Don't tell us your mom is sick. You couldn't come to office, because if you find that, it will break the trust and we won't trust you anymore. And in company, even in co-founders and family, once trust is broken, you will always be suspicious. There's the Satan, the devil always whispers that, hey, he's not working. He might be working, but the trust is broken, right? So that's something that's number one in our company. Everyone should be transparent. If they fail, tell us, we'll help them, right? They can ask, they can reach out to me. It's horizontal. They can reach out to anyone in the company, get mentorship. And everyone has the right to speak on any other's work. So the content team finds that the design team is not to the par. They can give feedback. Look, we got to fix this. And this team design is not happy with customer support. They got to tell, dude, you got to reply faster, right? So we build this culture in the company. It's not easy. Sometimes when we hire, they're not, they're not familiar getting criticism, right? And when they are criticized or given feedback, they take it on their ego, like, shit, what's this? And we tell them, look, this is normal. You can also say it to somebody else, right? It's just for the good. But there's always challenges, It's a country thing, right? But alhamdulillah, a lot of people who come in the company, they refer their peers, their good friends, and we often hire those people because we want people from the company to refer people so that they can be happy together, right? So yeah, that's what we do with the culture stuff in company.
That's amazing. Radical transparency and vulnerability. Two things you touched on. It's I think it's more important than the talent and the smarts, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Because if someone can actually put their hand up and say that, hey, I effed up, or someone who can say that, okay, tell me more, how can I be better? These are the traits you can't, you can't teach anybody. It's just something which has to come from within. Yeah. And if the person doesn't have it, then there's a big problem, right? For them as well. And then you would have to feel you need to be empathizing to them. But then oftentimes you would be left in a situation where you need to choose one, or you need to choose the wider group or the team, right? And that's the dilemma.
We had so many scenarios like that. Like, we had often said no to so many people because they are so good at skills. We love their skills. We were looking for those skills, but the personality didn't match to our culture. And we always do that personality test also in the interview. And oftentimes you're right. When we sometimes mistakenly, or that we couldn't figure out the personality, and when you hire those people and they started becoming they couldn't fit in the culture. Basically, nobody's bad, right? It's just they couldn't fit in the culture. That's when everything starts getting disruptive. because design is not happy, content is not happy, everybody's avoiding that person. And for the better good, we open opportunities for that person. We tell them, look, this is a great company, you could go there, but we got to do this. And they often leave on a happy note, that okay, we're happy. And we are often connected with the ex-employees also. They're often happy. They talk to each other. We invite on cricket matches. You're invited to a cricket match, let's come and meet. They meet all fellows. So it's a wonderful thing. And I think the third question you asked is, how do we keep in this ecosystem, I think. And I think a lot of things is again about mentorship, right? When certain interviews of mine actually go on social media, a lot of bankers from the US emailed me that they want to give funding, but and then when I ask certain questions, they ask when I'm going to get dividend back, where you're going to get their return back. And I'm like, dude, this is net negative flag. So a lot of times, a lot of mentors remove the hurdle from me, like, don't do this, don't do that. So that's how it somehow becomes safe.
You need to. So you see, there is a very right balance when I think about entrepreneurship. Two things I'm going to touch on. The number one is that being an entrepreneur, you need to be that leader, that force that is going to find the ways that others are not going to be able to find. But at the same time, you need to have that humility where you can ask for someone who has been through the trenches, right?
Yeah.
So understanding and striking that balance is very important. And the second thought that's coming to mind, right, is that the very true nature of being an entrepreneur is resourcefulness. Entrepreneurship is about being resourceful and create something which becomes an opportunity or a product which creates more economic activity in the society. But then when you talk about this venture capital driven world, it takes it away, because all of a sudden now you have ample amount of money, and it's oftentimes prematurely. So now you're distracted, and you're spending money left, right, and center, and all the culture piece that you touched on.
Yeah.
The culture is everything, right? Without the culture, even in our culture deck, we say that not every smart and intelligent individual is the right fit for what we do. Yeah. That doesn't mean it's a reflection of an individual. It's about the values. It's the same North Star. Do they see or not? Otherwise, they will muddy the water, right? Or this is what happens. So taking away that culture piece, and then taking, that what's happening in the global startup ecosystem. And then for the youngsters and youth in Pakistan who are inspired and aspired by a journey of, wonderful people like yourself, what piece of advice with the resourcefulness, the culture, and the VC would you give to them?
Oh, this question actually requires you to self-reflect first. That why are you doing the startup? What's the driving force? In every time, sometimes people want to raise funding so that they could be in the news. They could be in Forbes. They could be in Dawn News that we raise funding, right? That's good, but then you need to understand that why you exist, why your startup exists. Oftentimes, the VC funding is a vicious cycle. It's a rat race. You raise 100K, the investors are waiting for you to 4x their money. They want you to raise 1 million. You raise 1 million, you're going to raise 4, 10, 15, 20. I'm not saying you don't do that. I'm just saying that this is not the only path that should be on your head all the time, right? You need to grow the numbers first. Otherwise, every time you raise a lot of money, it requires a lot of expectations to be tripled 4 times 2, right? Then the second part is that, what is your exit plan? Do you want to exit? How much do you want if you want to exit? And it's not that you always think about it, but if the opportunity comes up, would you do it for the sake of getting famous, or would you do it because you're happy within that you made the right choice? In our journey in 2016 or 17, we got our first acqui-hiring offer from Canva. Just imagine this. At that time, no major acquisitions happening in Pakistan. Canva, big company, unicorn. If just the news comes up, Sorol Champ got acquired by Canva, and my name in all the news and it spreads out internationally, I'm happy, right? Even if they just give me XYZ amount, that doesn't matter, right? But the question was that a good for that time or not? They approached us again second time. But our inner self was like, you got to push this. And even I asked, just to clarify, I asked the co-founder of Canva, saying that if you were at my place, what would you do? And the answer was that I would run the company and my offer is still open, right? And that gave me a clarity check that whatever I was thinking, I was right, because he is still thinking the same what I'm thinking. And I took a pause, like, we're going to run this and give our best shot. At that time, we were beta. We just had Facebook and Twitter. Now we have 11 platforms. And we still have these talks of acquisition happening, like different companies come to us and talk to us. And some are even ready to buy us currently at this time right now. And we know that there's a lot of potential right now. There's a lot of growth happening. We don't want to sell it so short. And in terms of investors, alhamdulillah, we're very lucky having good investors. They understand the problem, they understand the ecosystem, they understand the hardships in a B2B SaaS company, how much longer it takes to grow, competitive market. So they have been really helpful. Oman Technology Fund and the cyber people who are helping us in strategic, mentorship, they've been really helpful. We have been very, alhamdulillah, saved by not having aggressive investors who really shut the companies of my friends who I knew. I had friends I was from the Nest.io, right? I had friends who ran their companies, and I know so many of my co-founders who shut because they raised funding.
Yeah,
and they would have done much
happens.
Better. So then this is something that you need to have clarity on. Like, what is your end goal? Would you want to be that cycle? Would you need to be a balance? Would you live a lifestyle? Because if you're doing lifestyle, then raising money is not good, because they want to 4x their money. That's 100%. Also something wrong. You buy them out and don't leave them hanging. So it's always a mix. And sometimes you need to be somewhere in the center to keep driving the company, improve the numbers, and see what opportunity comes up and are you ready for that or not.
Yeah, and it starts with you, as you rightly said, right? If you don't have your why, if you don't have your North Star identified as an individual, as a founder or a founding team, it often is very noisy.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to get distracted, And have you ever thought of, or ever anyone of your team, that if you had taken that acquisition offer from Canva, what would it translate into dollar terms today, especially with the growth Canva has had? Have you ever had that thought?
Sometimes we think to be honest, I never think that, we could have taken that. For me, everything in life is happening for me to reach at a certain point. And all these opportunities that come and go, it's something that's already for the good of us. So that's something I always believe in. And oftentimes, my mentors, when I meet up, they say, Samir, you could be a millionaire right now, because at that time when Canva offered it was $1 million company. Now it's $1 billion company, right? And they were also giving us shares in Canva, 50% shares, right? But to be honest, that's something that we found was not a lot of fun talk about. We're like, dude, all things happen for good. And then we had to move to Sydney to join their company and build that for them, right? And moving to Sydney was not for us at that time the right choice. I was trying to be learning and discovering myself. I wanted to rediscover myself, see the part of the world that I missed when I was growing up in Qatar, right? So I was rediscovering myself, and I didn't want to pause that. So that's something that happened. And then it's just that I don't think as a regret. I think that happened for a good, because of that I can tell, like, hey, we're on the right path, because Canva was looking into us, and now companies are looking into us. That's like a validity. If sometimes you're lost, hey, am I doing good or not? That's a validation fact that, hey, companies are looking for you, right? You're doing something right. So that never occurred. Sometimes my mentors joke about it, but like, dude, I still have some other options also. So you're getting better opportunities in terms of more people who want to acquire us. They're giving good numbers, but it's just that I'm still good friends with Canva's co-founder. I know I can reach out to that person if I'm stuck. And Guy introduced me that. And I think that's more valuable than the acquisition itself, that I have access to a person who can help me and just reply to me as soon as I email him.
I can guess your answer, but I'm going to ask this question anyway. If you had the opportunity, looking back, you get, like, let's say 5 million funding, or the contacts and the network that you have understood now, what would you have chosen in retrospect?
I think probably the network, because if I got 5 million, I would burn that the next day, and I don't know where I would burn it. Right? Oftentimes, you would die as a company if you raise a lot of money, because then your mindset is like, oh, we guys raised so much money. Let's have an influencer party. We got to do influencer party so that your product goes up. Let's hire expensive resource, a high for in the US, or maybe you don't go from those, scratch ground up. You don't go from that level, right? And then that's the problem, that you would actually burn a lot of money. So you got to start slow, right? Even if your dad gives you 10,000 rupees as a pocket money, you would just be the most stupid or brat kid, spoiled kid, right? You need to get that 5 rupees, 10 rupees, so you know what you would buy, because this is the valuable, right?
Yeah.
So I think it starts from that strategy, that you don't need to get so much money.
Anything that is gotten easily, we lose the essence and the value of it.
Yeah.
And one question, and as we come towards the end of the episode, you have been phenomenal. Thank you. If you think about it, let's say an employee, it's as founders, as entrepreneurs, we are selling our dream to them. And we understand that they have the right to live their life to the maximum potential. So at any stage, they don't align with the values, or we don't align, or the business don't align with their value. They are happy to explore, and we should be happy about it to let them go. But when it comes to the co-founders and like the founding team, right? Now you are a driver, because it's different, because you're driving it. And if you have more, because you guys are three, and 3 people, 3 different views, 3 different personalities, how do you keep everybody on same level, that so the justice is done, that 3 of them are like pulling? What practical sort of advice would you have for people who would be in that situation, in these circumstances? What do you do as co-founders to drive together?
Yeah, I think this, so let's say if you're in a university, and I often go to university and tell kids that in 3rd year, 4th year, you need to make big projects, great ideas, make them reality, and then see if you could find a commercial aspect to it and sell it. And then the often complaint that I get is, we don't find good team members. I don't find a good co-founder. I don't know anyone. And then I realized that, in university, when you're trying to learn something new, so let's say I found a good course to learn graphic designing. I will not tell it to my friend. I will secretly in my home watch videos, and maybe wait for the day when I learn entirely and tell him, look, I know I've done this. This is what I created. But this does not happen, because you watch that video for like 3-4 videos, and then you get bored out of it, and something new happens, like AI, and they're like, I'm going to learn AI. This is boring. You keep on jumping. You never do that, and your resume just, you keep adding graphic designing AI. When the interview happens, you do nothing, because you kept jumping, right? In that scenario, if you share it with your friend that's saying that, hey, I'm learning graphic designing, and he said, okay, can you share it? Don't be a jerk, just share that. And when you reach to a 3rd chapter and you get bored out of it, maybe he comes to you saying that I reached to my 7th chapter, and you're like, shit, I gave him the source and he's more ahead of me. You'll panic and you'll learn more. You don't care what India is doing. Yeah, you won't care what India is doing, right? It will create competition. And once you end it, and when there's a competition happening at a university, you know who you're going to take with you, your friend, because you both are experts into it. That's how you build up. In our university, my friends, my co-founders, we went to a lot of courses together. We learned, from 10 courses, maybe 6 or 7 were waste of time. 3 were good. The 3 were good. They were phenomenal. They shaped us, right? So we worked on our weaknesses and powers. We chose the powers and we gave work based on that. Like my co-founder Shak is really good with numbers, crunching numbers, remembering. It's like yin and yang. I'm very fast. I want more opportunity. I want things to be done fast. He's slow. He's subtle. He takes time and listens. And I sometimes miss the details. He catches those. Right? Is the power and weakness. But I don't say that you're weak, you need to prove that. But I know certain points, like for example, somebody needs to focus on maybe understanding what investment metrics are, right? What's the language that lawyers use? I'm like, dude, you got to learn that. Let's do that. I'll also help you, because majorly you're going to tackle that. But I also would need to learn it. So we do that. It's transparent. We are good friends. My 3 co-founders who are right now, like me, myself, and 2 more co-founders, we have gone through the failures together. happiness together. We failed. We share everything together. That something's doing good, bad. Often people say, getting a co-founder is like your marriage. Like the amount of time you spend finding good life partner is kind of like equal to finding good co-founder, right? And I think the one answer to your question would be transparency. Oftentimes you don't want, and also the share between the co-founder is equal. My salary and my co-founder salary is equal. The shares in the company is equal, and I don't want the devil to have the opportunity to whisper to my friend that, hey, somebody is sleeping and you're working and you have less shares in the company. This is bad. Right? It should be equal, right? So this is something I think I kept it clean. And one thing I did was that from the university days, I spoke to my professors in university. I said, sir, if you're going to form a company, if anything wrong happens, you're going to be the board of advisor. You would be the one who will remove the issues. And that happens so many times where like somebody's coming late to the office, somebody's not, in his good mood. We'd often bring sir, let's have a dinner. We're going to discuss these issues. And he used to be like the godly father figure and solve the issues, right? So we always agreed to have somebody elder who would guide us if you're, having problems. But transparency, sharing stuff, like you go for a conference in US, right? Funded by a company, the two co-founders are not going, right? And they need to trust you 100% to fund you to go. You could go to US or maybe any other conference in Oman or anywhere,
that is
right?
big, yeah.
Right?
100%.
That's like you're using the company funds to travel, to eat, to visit, right? The trust is something that you got to have from the one person, 100%.
That's amazing. And you reminded me of two human natures or psychology, as we say, right? Is that if you want to test a man, see him in adversity. Right? So being in the trenches together, you get to learn a lot that how one, responds. And then there is a very common human nature as well, because we come from the lazy planet and we like things to be given to us. So everybody wants to be the part of the outcome, but nobody wants to be the part of the process, right?
Yeah.
But it's the process where it's determined who deserves to be the part of the outcome. And I think it's a just way of doing things, because in this world, there's only one thing we should all strive for, in my personal opinion, is that strive to do our part to strike the balance between the supply and demand, which is disbalanced. So if we can create that kind of culture where everybody thinks that way, you're not just making a successful company, but you're creating good citizens, and you're having that positive ripple effect for generations to come, right? So it's a very privileged position, and closing, what is your life's philosophy and one message that you would like our audience to take from your experiences, failures, wins, heartaches that we often don't talk about? What one piece of advice would you leave us with?
I think I'll connect this with your comments. It just happened when you were speaking. I connected. So I just recall certain points that I believe in firmly. I think if you don't do your part, right, you will be replaced with somebody who would do it. So let's say I have the knowledge or maybe the financial power to do good, right? And if I don't do good, the universe will find a way to replace me with somebody who does.
100%.
Right? It will be taken away from me.
100%.
Everything that I have been given, like we have been given, the knowledge, the money, the monetary power, everything will be questioned also. That you were given this. And in family, you're there for you are someone in a family because someone above thought that you were perfect fit for this puzzle, right? Even this goes for Pakistan. So you're here because someone thought in above that you're the perfect person to be here, to be in solving this issue. So when we think, oh, this is me who have done it, or, I've done great stuff, it's not you. You are here placed by the divine to do good stuff. And if you don't do it, right, if you say that you have so much knowledge in fixing problems, but you want to choose an easy life, because a lot of people you see are born different. They can't solve issues sometimes when you solve, and sometimes we can't solve issues that they can solve. I can't fix an AC, right? I can't do 100%. It. That person would do it, right? So you'll be questioned. So it's my thing that, if you don't do good for your family, for your relatives, for your society, for your country, you will be questioned, that's first, but you will be replaced. So something that you have now, you have often seen people having power lose their power, having money lose their money. So right, and you will be tested now again for that. So I think whatever the youth of this country is doing a job is fine, phenomenal. You're good at it. Sometimes we people who are doing startup get envious of you, like because you get jealous, like, oh my god, what a good life. And sometimes you guys get jealous, oh my god, what a good life is off in traveling and sharing on Instagram. Although that's just 1% of the 99% stories, right? So just be you who you are, self-reflect, find your inner soul at peace, find the reason why you were sent here, and fulfill those responsibilities, and don't be envious. I think one thing that really helped me, because when you're in youth, you always get jealous somebody seeing a good car or big house or somewhere. I think I heard from a scholar, Mufti Ismail Mink. He said, whenever you see somebody driving in a good car or somebody having more abundance than you, just pray, God, may Allah give him more. When you say this, your inner will hurt a little bit because you're praying good for that person. But when you pray that, the angels will pray for you, the same dua. And who's more pure and divine than the angels praying for you, the good stuff, right? And I do that. I did that often from a very young age. I see people say, may Allah give him more health, wealth, and whatever he's having. And it helped me, calm down whatever I was not having at that time.
That is so powerful. That is so powerful, Samir. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom.
No
And
worries.
thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
You have been phenomenal. Thank you.